Dartmouth this spring. Before I proceed, I really want to thank USEF. It was like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I used to come here like you guys, and I researched about colleges and like different opportunities to pursue undergraduate education in the States, also practice my SAT and different standardized testing here, and worked out really well for me. And I guess I might have attended like 1 or 2 sessions like this if it existed then. Like I don't really remember that, but USEF was really helpful in getting me into a very good college. So before we go, I want to know like the background of you guys. Like, are you guys currently in high school? How many of you are here like are currently enrolled in high school, studying like grade 11 or 12? No one? How many of you finished 12? Most of you. And like, are there people who are also like trying to get like apply for PhD or master's program here? It's 4 of you. Okay, so I'm gonna focus mostly on how to apply to competitive programs in the States, and then also like briefly talk about PhD and master's application procedures too. So before we proceed, I think most of you already know like what are the requirements for application. As an applicant, like what are the different areas that you need to work on to get into any school, right? So let's go through those first. And you said most of you like are applying for the fall of 2014, right? So you're applying this year. It's already July 10th today, so I hope like you guys are already in the mood and like you have already started preparing for your application and started thinking about it. Have you started thinking about your applications and like colleges, like standardized testing? Have any of you started doing that? Yes. Okay. So let's go through it. So like in my opinion, as well as when you apply for colleges, there are different areas that you need to focus on. So let's go through those things first. So I would say the first is the academic performance. So academic performance is the most important thing when you apply for college. Like it's one of the most important criteria that the admission committee look for is academic performance. So in the academic performance, the thing that you should consider is class rank, in your class, because like different people go to different schools. So usually the class rank is in percentage, like are you in like top 2% of your class? Are you in top 5% of your class? Are you in top 10% of your class? So that's your class rank. Then your GPA. Like here, like if you do like HSC, +2, like you have a percentage, right? Or if you do A-levels, you have like A, B, C, D, E. Or if you do ISC, you still have percentage. But there must be certain like criteria, or like there must be like some kind of procedure to convert like your percentage into your GPA. So that's another factor, like during college application. Then your academic trend. That is, like I think in the state the admission, like for Nepalese application, like applicants, the admissions officers, they usually look for like your last 2 years of high school performance. Like how well have you been performing? Have you been like performing consistently well? Like has it been declining? Or like has it been consistently improving? And the two best scenario for like me, I think, is like either you have been performing consistently well, or you have been steadily improving your academic performance over the last 2 years. So I'll say consistency. And what do you think is the second most important criteria? I want this session to be very interactive because then I also get comfortable. Now. Sorry? Yeah, so the second most important thing is a personal essay. And this is my opinion, okay? Like people's opinion vary. But in my opinion, like after admission, like after academic performance, the second important factor is the personal essay. So like when you apply to school as an undergraduate, like you fill out the common application form, right? And in that common application form, You guys know about the Common App, right? So there's a general application essay, and like also like depending on what school you apply to, they also have the supplemental sections where they want you to answer like different questions, like write an essay. So that's also like, that's the second most important factor in your application. Why is personal essay very important? Because it allows you to get into the mind of the admission, like the admission officer. So whoever is going through your application, like when I was in the college, sometimes I used to have lunch with the guy in the admissions office, and like during the peak admissions, like during the peak application period, he used to tell me like he went through so many essays, and like there's so many, and there's like, he went through so many essays. So basically you want to write an essay that really gets into the, so that like you really get into the mind of the, like the person, whoever is looking at your essay, you know. It allows you to express your personality, your individuality, like your, like you can also like narrate your experiences. So there are so many people, when you apply, they're gonna have like very good academic performance, they're gonna have great standardized testing score, and they're gonna be like great in all different aspects of the application. But if your personal essay is very like not up to the par, then it's really like not good. So you want to write a very good personal essay. I would suggest spend at least like 15-16 days working on an essay. Start working on an essay from today, and make sure you don't submit the first draft of an essay. You know, like go through the essay multiple times, like get criticism, like give it to different people, and like have people critique your essay, and like incorporate those changes into your essay. And like the final version of the essay should be error-free. There shouldn't be any grammatical errors and any obvious errors. But this is like a really like personal essay can like writing a very good personal essay can make its application stand out among the pool. And the third important, what do you think is the third important thing? Sorry? No, I think in my opinion, sorry? The recommendation letters. So the colleges usually want 2 or 3 teachers' recommendations, and like most of you have already graduated from high school, so whatever impressions you made on them, that counts. But still, like I think your teacher will not usually will not write a very bad teacher recommendation. But if they're like, when you focus on the teacher recommendation part of your application, make sure you get in contact with the school teacher that you really like, or that you had a really good relationship with, and that you are confident he's gonna write, that you are confident like he's gonna write a, he or she is gonna write a very good recommendation for you. So you need like usually 2 to 3 recommendation letters depending on like what schools you go to. And out of 2 or 3, make sure like at least 1 is from a teacher who really likes you, or who you really like because like this is gonna make a huge difference. Because for a lot of people, you might have been doing really well in the internal exams. You might have been like working really hard, but during exams, like you might get sick, like you might miss the bus, like whatever, and like, you might not get the result that you wanted, right? So teacher recommendation can like help you, through teacher recommendation, the teacher might write, this student was really good, but unfortunately, there was this is that, and that's why like he couldn't get a good result in the finals. So teacher recommendation is also a very vital part of your application. And what do you think is the 4th aspect? I'll say extracurricular activities. Sorry. So why is extracurricular activities important? There are a lot of people like who have 4.0 GPA, who might have like a perfect SAT, perfect GRE, perfect standardized testing. But through extracurricular activities, like you can show them that you are a very well-rounded person. Like you might have been the captain of a basketball team in high school. You might have volunteered outside the school, like in a small a poor community, and this showed that like you are really involved in your community. You are really concerned about the issues outside your academic, and like you are a well-rounded person. And like the US colleges, the admissions officer, they love people like who have been involved in different things. Like outside the academic like performance and like other areas, like they really value your extracurricular activities. So see the fourth important factor. So what do you think is the fifth? Standardized testing, right? And for undergraduates, it's SAT. And then I think it's SAT 1 and SAT 2. So these are the four most important factors. Like every time I've talked to like a college admission officer, and he says that standardized testing is not that really important because like it's just like one day test, and then like it doesn't really it assesses your aptitude more than your knowledge. But again, to be on the safe side, I'll make sure that I also address this aspect very carefully. Like I'll prepare well for my SAT 1, SAT 2, and in SAT 1 there's a verbal part, there's a quantitative part, and also you have a lot of resources downstairs in the USEF, and you can take that practice test before you go to the actual test. Make sure you spend like considerable time practicing, like doing a lot of practice tests, and so that you can get a decent score. Because like I know like for a lot of my friends when we applied, like 4 of them, like they had like really good academic performance, really good personal essay, really good teacher recommendation, like they were so involved, but like not having a good standardized testing hurt them, okay? But they didn't spend much time in the standardized testing. So make sure from now until November, whenever you guys want to take it, spend a lot of time like trying to get like a good score in the SAT 1. Like math, I think most of you will be fine, because like it's a high school math, but even then like make sure you practice, because like you don't want to ignore it just because it's easy. But like for verbal part, like a lot of us struggle. Like I struggled a lot on my verbal part, but then I worked hard. So make sure you spend a lot of time in standardized testing. And I'd say like to be on the safe side, I target like to get a 800 on my verbal, like at least greater than 650 on my critical reading, get like more than 650 on my writing, and target like 4.5 or 5 at least for my essay. And you can like getting that score is very doable. You just have to spend a lot of time and like do a lot of practice tests. So now I've elaborated the 5 more important aspects of your application. What is the next thing? The next thing for you guys to do is like evaluate yourself as an applicant. Like go to a dark, like a room or something, like be alone and like list these 5 points, and then maybe rank yourself on each of these areas. How strong are you in your academic performance? How well can you write your personal essay? Like what kind of recommendations are you going to get from your teachers? Like what sort of extracurricular activities do you have? And what is your SAT score? So once you like get a feeling about yourself in these 5 important aspects, then you have an idea about yourself as an applicant, right? Then once you have an idea about yourself as an applicant, what's the next thing to do? Sorry? Apply. But before you apply, you need to research, right? You need to find about colleges. And have you guys started looking about like for colleges yet? Okay. So where do you guys usually look for colleges? College board? Just college board? Peterson, what else? US News. So okay, so once like we take care of these things, the next 2 will be research about colleges, right? Again, I'd say like I'll give you the resources that you might know it, but like I'll just give it anyway. So usnews.com. I think US News is like the best place to look for colleges, because it lists all the colleges, like all the best colleges, top 100 national universities and top 100 liberal arts colleges. And then like you guys know better than me, College Board, Peterson, and also there are like a lot of books by Kaplan, like Barron's, like downstairs, that you can go and look at the colleges, right? And there are certain things when you research about the colleges. Like when I did my research, so I evaluated myself on these 5 like criteria. I knew like I was like I had okay academic performance. I'm gonna write like good personal essays, and like I have okay teacher recommendation. Once I had a feeling about myself in these 5 areas. Like you want to look at like you can research about like the stats in the colleges, right? So when in the US News they give you the data about like the average GPA of the like applicant, like the like you can look at different data about the colleges. So the next thing will be like to find a college that's more compatible to you, right? So when you research about college, like there are certain things you should look for, and one thing you should look for is like go to US News, look at the top schools, and then like pick 1 or 2 schools that you think you like. For example, when I just looked at the school, I randomly looked at a school called Colby. Like I wasn't deciding, like there was no rationality like behind me looking at Colby, right? But I just decided to just like look at Colby, and the next thing I did was like I was being helped by a guy who was like studying at Dartmouth at that time, and he suggested me that when you look at a school, the next thing you want to do is like go to their website, and in their website specifically look at the admissions page, look at the international sections page, and see like how many international students are they admitting, what are their policies like, do they have enough scholarship, like do they provide enough scholarship for international students. Like you can get a lot of information on their website. Once you get that website, try to track down an alumni in that school, and preferably try to track down a Nepali alumni in the school, because those guys like will be like like the admissions officers. Sometimes like you get like when you are studying in the colleges, you do get access to the admissions officers, and like you are talking with them, and you get a sense of how the admission, like how competitive the admission procedure is this year, like what are they expecting in student this year, and you get a better idea of college. So spend a lot of time researching about college, and the one important aspect that like I really focus in like communication. When you go to their website, write an email to their admissions office and ask whatever you want to ask. Like don't feel shy, like be confident. Like whatever you want to know about their school, ask them. And those schools are really helpful. They want to give as much information as they can. And the next thing, as you communicate with them, ask for the alumni, and also like keep on communicating till you are satisfied with the answer that you are looking for. Yeah. So once you do the research, like you know what would be the next step once you have done research for all the colleges? Is to be aware of their deadlines, right? But you want to apply. And now since like it's July 10th already, so do you guys know different stages of applications? Like there's ED1, ED2, are you guys aware of those things? Sorry? Okay, so when you apply to colleges, there are different stages. So, the admission season begins usually on the 1st of November. So, and then so there are different stages of application. So the early decision. So early decision part of the application, like how does it work is, so for example, like you have done all your research and you find out that Harvard is the school that you really like, you realize that you have a great academic, you have like a 4.4 GPA in your high school, or like you're gonna write a great personal essay. You feel like you are the man. Like then you think like you want to go to Harvard for your, like you really want to go to Harvard. So what this ED1 allows you is like it's a kind of contract. When you apply to school for ED1, you can only apply to that school, or like you can also apply to other schools. But no, let me explain. Like when you apply to a school in ED1, it's like a contract between you and school. That if you get into that school, you're gonna go to that school, and if that school takes you in, it's gonna take you in and also provide like whatever financial need that you have. But again, and if you get, and then like ED1, the deadline is usually November 1 to November 15. Big universities have the deadline at November 1. Small liberal arts schools, I think it's usually November 15. And that's the first, and I got into Colby in my 81 because I knew this is the school I really wanted to go. I had done all my research. I figured out that like I had a good shot of getting in, and I decided to apply, and I got in. And then after 81, 82 is the second stage of the early decision process. And as far as I know, a lot of small liberal arts schools, they tend to take a lot of international students during the early decision phase because they know like during the regular decision thing, they have a lot of people they have a lot of very competitive applicants, and they don't want to give the student the opportunity to reject their college. You know what I mean? So they want to make sure whoever they take in should come in. So to apply strategically, one of the key concepts is to be aware of these two deadlines. Do your research when you go home today. Like look at whatever school you like. For example, you might like Harvard, and then do all your research on Harvard, and make sure that you apply to Harvard by November 1. You know. So when you have to apply for like Harvard by November 1, you want to make sure like your teacher recommendation is ready by then. Your personal essay is in this final draft. Like you have all the extracurricular activities entered into your CV, and you have a standardized testing that will go to Harvard by that deadline. So if you guys haven't already registered for SAT, I strongly recommend you that you do it today so that you can get a date for October or November. You know, and it's fine to give your SAT one like 2 times or 3 times. It's fine, but make sure like not to miss this deadline, which is a very important deadline. That you get you have taken your SAT 1 by November 1, and then your SAT 2 by that deadline too, if you're applying to Harvard. And then once if you get rejected in your 81, then you have your 82. But when you apply for your 82, you also need to be aware that the deadline for the regular decision is coming soon too. So this is going to be a very crunch time. But a lot of you will be applying to a lot of schools. So make sure that you get every document that you need for your application ready by November 1st. And you guys know, in regular decision, you can apply to as many schools as you want. And do you guys also know about fee waivers? So when you apply to schools in the States, they charge you money, right? They charge you $100 or $80 depending on what school you are going to. So you need, during my time, I got a lot of fee waivers. You can just get a school to write a letter for you saying that you don't want to pay that much money because of your financial condition or because the situation of the country, whatever. But make sure you also get the fee waivers so that you don't need to pay for the application. Because in the regular decision, a lot of people apply to a lot of schools. And if you have 10 schools, that's $700, and you just don't want to spend that much money on the application. And also, when you look for schools in USEF.com, there are usually they're top national universities, and there are top liberal arts colleges. And the rankings can be really misleading, you know. You might think okay, William is number 1, so it's got to be the best school. And then let's say Gettysburg used to be number 44, then I don't know what is it in right now. It's a very bad school, but that's not so. You know, I think when you apply to top 50, 60 American schools, liberal arts schools or universities, the level of quality of education is same. So don't feel I know everything, I'm really good applicant, so I just apply to Williams and Amherst or Harvard and Princeton. No, never get misled by the rankings. Make sure because the top 50 schools in both of these criteria, both of these under national universities and liberal arts colleges, they are the same. And also, the reason it's very important to do good research in school is because when I was trying to apply for my 81, there were 3 schools in my mind. One was Colby, one was Bernard, and one was Trinity. And I would only research about Colby. But then like I didn't realize that Bernard was a women's school. I just like the only reason I picked Bernard was because like I saw it in the list and I said that okay, maybe it's a potential school in my application. But no, make sure like whenever you look at the school, you want to get as much information as you want. And also the next thing you guys will be looking for will be funding, right? You also want to get funded because like the schools these days are like really expensive, so you want to get funded. So when you apply for funding, you can get the forms, right kind of forms in collegeboard.com, and like if you get into the schools like top schools, you'll be guaranteed, like you'll have a guarantee, like they'll guarantee that they're gonna fund you for 4 years of this college. So this is what I have to say about like undergraduate applications. If you have any questions, like please, like you can throw it at me right now. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
Could you tell us the difference between national universities and liberal arts colleges?
Yes. So universities, for like in liberal arts colleges, they just offer you 4 years of college education, your bachelor's degree. But in national universities, like they don't not only have like the 4 years college, but they also have medical school, they have law school, and they are usually very, very big. Not very, like they are usually big. And but like even then, when you apply to national university, you'll be applying for your bachelor's degree. So when you apply to college, it doesn't really matter whether you apply to, like let's say, University of Michigan or Colby. But then, if you want to do engineering, let's say, right? A lot of liberal arts schools don't offer you engineering, except a few. I think Lafayette and Trinity, they offer engineering. But like if you want to be an engineer, then you might want to look at the national universities, you know. But if you want to study, let's say like English, or if you want to study economics, if you want to study philosophy, it doesn't really matter whether you apply to top university or top liberal arts school. Is there any more questions? Come on.
What is the difference between RAB and the NAB recognition?
RAB and?
NAB.
RAB and NAB.
National accreditation and regional accreditation.
In Nepal?
In the US.
There is, as far as I know, there is not. Like, I've never heard of those terms, I'm sorry. RAB and NAB. I've never heard of those two terms. Where did you get this term from?
No, I was just searching out the universities and I got to know that it's RAB recognized, NAB recognized or something.
So, we discussed this in the Friday class. We recommend going to the regionally accredited colleges. Yeah, we can talk about that in the Friday class.
Okay, so sorry, I don't know much about those two.
Yeah. But is your Colby College of Art or something? We have graduate of Colby College.
In Colby, they offer 4 years liberal arts education. They have 53 departments. Like they are not like a big university. And there's small liberal arts school. We have 1,600 students, 400 per class, and like it's not like Harvard where they offer like law school, medical school, those schools. But again, in the States, you can't go through like the professional school without going through like the undergraduate college, you know.
You're graduate in Colby College, in his College of Art or something?
No, like, so I got like Bachelor of Art and I was a physics major.
What is that in Bachelor of Art means?
Bachelor of Art means like, Bachelor of Art means I got certified as like, I finished my undergraduate education, you get a Bachelor of Arts, right? That's the degree that I got from Colby.
They are finishing art or something related?
No, that's nothing related to arts. It's just like, so there's a difference between like you getting Bachelors of Science and Bachelors of Arts. A lot of liberal arts schools, they offer you Bachelors of Arts degree. For Bachelors of Science degree, you need to take more technical classes. And like my school, Colby, doesn't like you can't get that many credits for technical classes, so I get Bachelors of Arts degree. And I was a physics major there. Makes sense? Like it's not a big school. Like we don't have a college of art. We don't have a college of like science or something like that. We just have like.
And you graduated 2012 from Colby?
Yeah, I graduated 2012 from Colby.
What faculty from Dartmouth?
So what I did was like during my sophomore year, like the fall of my sophomore year, I realized that like I also wanted to like explore engineering, and there is a program between Colby and Dartmouth, and this is called dual degree engineering program. So you take a bunch of science classes like preliminary science classes at Colby, and then you can apply to Dartmouth for your junior year. It's like studying abroad. So you go to Dartmouth your junior year, you take like a lot of engineering classes, you come back to Colby, finish with your Bachelor of Arts degree and whatever you are majoring in, then you again go back to Dartmouth and then you finish your Bachelor's of Engineering. So at the end of 5 years, you get 2 bachelor's degrees.
Engineering and arts.
Engineering and liberal arts.
So what is engineering in Dartmouth?
Sorry?
What is engineering in Dartmouth?
What engineering?
Yes.
I did material science and engineering.
What is about that? Material engineering. A mechanical related.
Material science is like material science is like mostly like applied physics, applied chemistry, little bit of math. You're trying to like understand like different materials, characterize those materials, and then like find out like efficient way to manufacture materials, like how to extract materials more efficiently and how to convert them from one like a material, raw material to something that can be utilized by other different engineers.
How many years you studied in Dartmouth?
How many students in Dartmouth?
How many years you studied in Dartmouth?
I studied in Dartmouth for 2 years and Colby for 3 years.
Does the college any other than SAT for also Dartmouth or not?
For Dartmouth, they want SAT 1.
After 2 years?
No. After 2 years, it's like you don't need any of those tests. You just need to do well in your classes. So it's a different application. Like you don't worry about that part yet. You worry about the first side of it, like how to get into the college first. Like that comes like after you get into the college.
Actually, which college from you from Nepal?
From Nepal, I went to Malvi Institute.
How was the CR score in the city?
I had like 720 in my CR and 700 in my math. I didn't get a good score in my math. Any more questions?
Suppose they applied for 5 colleges, then do we need site recommendation letter?
No. So when your teacher writes a recommendation letter for you, it has to be sealed and it has to be stamped. So make your teacher write 1 recommendation letter, get him to photocopy another 30 copies, and then like ask him to seal it and stamp it and get it from him. So that like you have a lot of you have many teacher recommendations for like as many colleges that you're applying to, you know?
Yeah, I do have a question. You studied engineering for 2 years, no?
Yes.
So, is your record or your credit as good as a 4-year engineering?
So like if you go to UK or India, you finish your engineering in 3 years, right?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years, like if you go to Germany, you finish in 3 years. So what happens is like I went to liberal arts school and like I had to fulfill a lot of requirements. So I have to take classes in 7 different areas. I have to take class in like arts, I have to take class in social science, I have to take class in natural science, like all different 7 areas of liberal arts. And then I have to start my engineering classes, right? But when I was doing my engineering, I was just taking engineering classes. If you really think about it, you go to 5 years, in Nepal you go like 5 years for MBBS, but then like for the first 2 years you are just studying basic science, right? So I had already covered my basic science in the first 2 years of school. So in my last 3 years, all I was focusing on was my technical part of my education, you know? So I finished my like basic requirements at the liberal arts in my first 2 years, and in the last 3 years, I was just focusing on the technical side. Like engineering being 4 years, like doesn't mean like you get into like a particular, what do you call it, like a particular area of engineering right away. For the first 2 years, you will just be doing basic sciences, and then the last 2 years you will be doing hardcore engineering. Any more questions?
Have you completed PhD program?
Sorry?
Have you completed PhD program? After that, have you that means a PhD over there?
Yeah, 5 years is like the time it takes for PhD.
Like if you have completed PhD,
No, I haven't finished PhD yet. I am just about to enroll in PhD.
which college then?
University of Southern California. Any more questions? I mean, like any particular thing that you want to know? Yeah. Anyway, so my advice would be to start preparing from today. Register for a SAT. Start getting your teacher's recommendations. Because as you go closer to the deadline, it's just going to be more stressful. So it's always better to get like the major part of the essay, like major part of the application, like start preparing for the major part of the application from today. Write a very good personal essay, and then start communicating with the admissions officer and the alumni. Like you're going to get a lot of information from them.
It's really hard, difficult to get like about 3.75 GPA. Like, is it like really hard than our high school in classrooms?
I mean, it really depends on what you study. I guess, or like it really depends on. I don't know. It's the same thing, right? Like when you're in like grade 6 to 10, like it seems like it was so hard. Then you're studying grade 12, then it doesn't seem so hard, right? You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like so, college is like it's a different ballgame. But like if you work hard, you're gonna get good GPA, you know. But I wouldn't worry about GPA yet. Any more things? No? So like, were you guys who are going for a master's, PhD? Can you raise a hand? Like we can have a more personal session after this. Like I can just like talk to you because there's just 3 of you. We can just like talk about it. Sorry.
I forgot to raise my hand before.
Okay.
You have done GRE then after
Sorry.
You have done GRE after your undergrad.
Yes, you have to do your. I did my GRE while I was doing my undergrad. Like not after my undergrad.
Other criteria for your undergrad.
Other criteria?
For graduate school.
For graduate school is very different than undergraduate. Because in undergraduate, like, they are not, like, you haven't done much. So, like, these are the 5 more important areas. But when you apply for graduate school, like, the extracurricular activity doesn't really matter. And then, like, there are, like, other criteria that come into play, you know? So,
Can you state that?
sorry?
Can you say that? What are those criteria?
For graduate school. For graduate school, again, academic performance. Then after academic performance, I would say your research, your extracurricular activities will be replaced by research. Because like when you go for a PhD, you're not. It's not about only passing your classes, but doing a good research, right? Because someone is paying for your tuition and someone is paying for your like food and like housing. So he wants you to like do well in your research. So it really like so what's mostly important for PhD, like to get into a PhD program, is a research experience too. Have you done like enough research as an undergraduate to convince like your prof that he should fund you to do whatever he wants you to get done, you know? So as an undergraduate, like your research experience doesn't really matter. Because you haven't done much research and you haven't had access to like much research facilities. But as an undergrad, you're going to get access to a lot of research facilities and like a lot of research opportunities. So those really count for your PhD application.
Will the job experience in our own field of bigger level?
Oh, it will be a great help depending on what kind of program you get into. You know, like having an experience in an area you want to get into is always a plus point. More questions? We still have 10 more minutes and like anything you want to ask. Like don't be shy.
What if the teacher student has good knowledge of
Usually like teacher recommendation is not you, it's not under your control. And even if they have done a good English, like if they want, like they will probably like have a good feeling about how you are. And like you even like the English is really bad, you can get a sense of what the person is trying to write, right? So you want to dictate, like you want to make your teacher dictate and you write the thing. I don't think you should do that. And also another important thing in your personal essay that a lot of like people from like Nepal, India and China, like they make a very big error is in the personal essay, like never plagiarize or never like try to copy someone else's idea. Or never, like even if you do, make sure you put those in quotation mark. Never get like and never like read someone else's essay and try to base on that. Like be very original. Because it's so easy to catch like a plagiarized essay, you know. And I had a Chinese friend, like he was like very smart, super smart, genius, but then like like he copied someone else's essay, and then like that was like he got into big legal trouble. So make sure like when you write your personal essay, it should be very original and it should be coming from your own. That's also another important thing.
Can we refer to our school teacher for recommendation letter?
Sorry?
Can we refer to our school teacher for recommendation letter?
Like refer to as in?
I mean, to write a recommendation letter that you mentioned on point number 3.
No, you just go and tell them, I have my application deadline on November 1, and I need like a teacher's recommendation that's inside an envelope and that has been sealed by the school by October 15.
I just mean that we have studied in school and college as well.
No, so get it from like Nepal, like because you finish it grade 10 and you go to like 2 years of college. So get it from 2 years college.
That means we should refer to college teacher belonging to our college.
Yes, like whoever taught you whatever subject you're studying, whoever knows you the best.
How can we secure modesty and equity in the city?
Sorry?
How can we secure modesty and equity in CR in
1600. I mean, read a like. Do you read a lot? It helps like for people like who read a lot. Like it's really easy. Like because critical reading is just about reading, right? And then you have 5 multiple choices answers. Like if you read a lot, it's helpful. Otherwise, just like look at the strategy. Like there are a lot of strategies that you can use to do it.
What do you have to do? Sorry,
I mean, like I just practiced a lot and it worked out for me.
Could you please talk about your application process for the graduate school?
Yeah.
I think even the undergrad level students will want to hear about that. How many colleges you applied there?
Okay, for my graduate application, it was completely different. Because as an undergraduate, I was so fortunate. The first school I applied to, I got it, and I didn't have to worry about anything for the next 8 months. But when I applied to graduate school, like I had to apply during the time when my school was on, and then I had to do all my research over summer. So when you apply to graduate program, you don't really care about the rankings, you don't really care about other things. What you care about is, does that school have funding to fund you, right? Because you are going to do like 5 years of PhD, and PhD is not like, you don't want to like pay for your PhD, so you want to get funding. So when you apply for schools for a PhD program, what you want to look at is like whether the school has the program that you want to do, and then whether like there's enough funding in that school. So once you figure out this is the school I want to get into, and they have enough funding, then you go and then like you contact the professors. Because in graduate school, it's not like undergraduate where you are applying to a committee, but you are also applying to a particular professor. Because it's a professor like who gets a funding for different national agencies or from different corporates who is going to fund you. So it's very important like to not only communicate with the school, but also communicate with the professor, letting him know that I have done this research, I have done really well in my school, and I really like your research. Like, do you want to talk? Like, do you have any spot? Do you want to hire me? And once like you build that relation with the professor, and then you go ahead and apply. And for like kids studying in the States is different, but because like a lot of time I'll be working under some prof, I'll be doing research under some prof, and he has some connection in other schools, and then like he refers me to that particular prof and I get hired. But like for people coming from here, again, it's the same thing, but like the most important thing would be your academic performance, your research, and your personal essay. And also it's very important to like communicate your passion, like communicate that you really want to work for a particular prof in a particular school. But that like you guys will figure out once you do like while you're doing your undergraduate education. Any more?
So is going to a liberal arts college less competitive than applying to an engineering or technology based college?
Yes, but no. Yes, because liberal arts school taking 34% to 40% of the applicants. While if you apply to MIT, they're taking 8% to 9% of the applicants. So out of 100, they take 8, while like a Colby will take 34, right? But again, when it comes to funding for international student, it's the same, I think, because like I mean like it's very hard to pay like $65,000 per year for a Nepali person, I think, right? So you're applying for that limited funding, and when you apply for that limited funding, it doesn't like you get like into a very big competitive pool, and they'll just take 1 or 2 students. So it's yes, because like they are taking 34% of people at one side, but on the other hand, they are not giving financially to everyone. So it doesn't really matter whether you apply to liberal arts school or whether you apply to top national university.
Have you ever done job after your undergrad?
Sorry?
Have you done any job after your undergrad?
No, I didn't apply for a job. I applied for grad school. So.
Directly.
While a personal essay is supposed to be personal, if it's possible, could you share what you based your personal essay on for your undergraduate?
Sorry?
If it's possible, could you tell us what you based your personal essay on for your undergraduate application?
For my undergraduate application, it's kind of embarrassing. So I wrote like about like. Do you mind if I like just tell you in person later? Sure. But like anyway, like your personal doesn't have to be like personal. Like it can be about like an issue that you really advocate for, right? For example, if you really think like you really feel strongly about that issue and you want to go to a liberal arts school and like be an advocate for that issue, you can write about that. Like what do you feel personally? And it's like it really gets into the head of your admission officer. For example, I can tell you how like application essay work. I have a friend got into Dartmouth, and he wrote an essay about how in Nepal like during like 7-8 years ago like they used to people from Kathmandu behave with Madesis. People from like Tarai, like a lot of people didn't behave well with like people who sell us like fruits and like vegetables. And he wrote like very passionately about that issue. And the guy who was like reading that personal essay in that side was also very like passionate about issue of race and ethnic differences and things like that. So they connected well, and he got it. So if something like that, if there's an issue that you really advocate for example, like one thing about Colby, like I can give you a hint, is like, no. Any more questions?
You have mentioned earlier that liberal arts college don't focus.
You can sit there.
You mentioned earlier that liberal arts college don't focus much on research. But then you said that for your graduate studies you need to solve how much research you have done. So does it matter if we do engineering from liberal arts college?
So you say, can you ask again?
You have mentioned earlier that liberal arts college don't focus much on research and other stuff.
No, that's not true. They do focus on research, but they don't focus like liberal arts schools research like will be on a small scale, but the research experience still counts. If you have worked in a lab, for example, like Colby is a small liberal arts school, but it has amazing research in chemistry, like a lot of research in biochemistry, and like you can get published like in big journals from Colby. But again, like if you go to Harvard, obviously like they are research universities too. You're gonna have like bigger chance of getting more research. But being in a small school like also helps. But like these class sizes are so small that you get in direct touch with your prof, and a lot of times during summer your prof goes to different universities to research, so you can follow him too. So it's not like that. Like going to a small school doesn't mean you're not getting research experience.
As that in research universities they don't focus much on teaching the students.
That's true. So if you go to like small liberal arts school, like the teachers there are supposed to teach you, But if you go to like a lot of like big schools like at Harvard, even at Harvard, there's a TA teaching the students instead of teachers in a lot of classes. So
will it have international students? I mean, from students from the top.
No.
But at first we are not used to American system teaching, and then we go to
university
and neglect us the research universities. So
no. I don't think so. I don't like the level. The style of teaching is globally is the same. I didn't find any difference between a lecturer in my class, like a lecturer there. Maybe like there's some teachers who are like very much better than the teachers here, but the style of teaching is still the same, right? So student.
I mean, does that mean that it hurts our GPA, college GPA, if we study at research universities?
No, again, it depends on you. Like at different kind of school, you have to make different kind of adjustments. Like to do well in research university, probably you have to like work extra hard on your own. Probably like in a small school, like it's a different strategy depending on what school that you go to. But that's the secondary part. First part is focusing on an application, right? You know? Like, don't worry about those things yet. Once you go get into school, you figure out how to get well in that school. Any more thing? And I wish you good luck with the application. And again, start from today, work hard, like do your research, prep well for your SAT. You have like 3 months, like August, September, October, November. You have 4 months, and you can like really make a really strong application by working hard in the next 4 months. So I wish you guys good luck, and thank you for hosting me.